and with my brothers and sisters at my side. There is no fight we fear.
Today I wanted to sit down and talk a little bit more about Ghost Recon Breakpoint. Specifically, I wanted to highlight some reasons I think Breakpoint could be a fantastic next step for the Ghost Recon franchise coming off of Wildlands. Wildlands was great. I absolutely adore that game. As someone who's been playing Ghost Recon since the very first Ghost Recon, it was insane to finally have a big open world Ghost Recon game. But the open world brought along with it a lot of new issues, along with all of the good stuff. I'm hopeful that Breakpoint can resolve at least some of those issues to improve the experience and give us something that feels maybe a little bit more Ghost Recon when it comes to its challenge and the way in which the world actually reacts to the decisions that the player makes. Open worlds aren't easy. They're especially not easy to get right. And when you talk about a game like Ghost Recon, I think a lot of us love the idea of being able to attack a scenario in 16 different ways, but what we don't love is getting there and finding AI that barely reacts, and in general, a large number of missions that just seem like generic shooting galleries, whether we do them in stealth or go loud. So today's video is all about highlighting things Breakpoint is doing that I think could massively improve not just the open world experience of the Ghost Recon franchise at this point, but the experience the Ghost Recon franchise aims to offer regardless. First on my list is new class-based gameplay, not just for PvP this time, but also for the campaign, whether you're playing in single player or 4-player co-op. One of my biggest pet peeves with Wildlands was these dull, samey progression trees. There was no real way for you to spec into a unique class that felt like they could truly support their team in a unique way. Having 4 distinct classes with their own perks, bonuses, and roles finally gives us an opportunity to have genuine co-op squad play where one person can take on a role that fits their personal playstyle and actually allows them to then assist the rest of their team in a unique and special way. Whether you're playing the sharpshooter, the assault focus class, or the medic, there's going to be an opportunity for you to find a role that fits your playstyle that in turn allows you to actually feel like you exist as a unique part of your team, whether you're playing online with just a bunch of randoms you just met the day before release or a group of longtime friends. I'm super excited to see where they go with skill trees on this, and honestly, even if it's not done like extremely well, I still think it's going to be a massive improvement to the co-op experience. Next up, and probably one of the most important things that Breakpoint needs to accomplish, is improving our AI threats. The game seems to be doing this through an increase in enemy diversity and improvements to the base AI. A lot of people who got to go hands-on with Breakpoint have spoken highly about the AI improvements, saying it felt much more on par with the Division 2, which is pretty high praise. The Division 2's AI is phenomenal in my opinion. It's constantly trying to outflank and oppress the player, forcing them to think on the fly and constantly reset their location during firefights. If it's anywhere near as good as the Division 2's AI, we're definitely going to be in for a treat that should hopefully leave behind the shooting galleries of Wildlands. When we talk about enemy diversity, we've now got new armored enemy types. We've got new tech, and the main threat in this game, the Wolves, led by John Bernthal's character Cole D. Walker, are locked and loaded with high tech. So whereas in the first game, in Wildlands, we didn't really deal with high-tech enemy threats, the majority of the time we barely even messed with the Unidad, this is going to be like our main bad guy here. And while there are said to be other factions in the game, it's again going to be nice to have a threat that really comes at us in full force and has a lot more variety in the types of enemies we engage and that engage us. Don't forget, we've also got a boatload of drones coming into the fray. After all, John Bernthal has hijacked a high-tech drone army, and we got to see a glimpse of that in both the trailer as well as in the gameplay. I'm really excited to see where that goes. I think there's a lot of opportunities to really step up the gameplay experience when you start to throw drones of many different types into the fray. Moving on to number 3, we've got brand new gameplay mechanics that I believe are looking to increase the dynamic nature of the Ghost Recon experience to create a more reactive environment for us as the player. We have a bunch of new systems like hydration and food, concealment mechanics like hiding in the mud, the ability to cut through fences to create our own entry points and flanking routes. We now have to scout to discover mission locations, and we have injuries that will affect combat performance until they're dealt with. They actually sustain, and you can gain multiple point-based injuries. For example, getting shot in the leg will slow your movement, or getting shot in the arm might actually affect your ability to control your weapon when firing. All of these systems sound freaking awesome, and the nice thing is that none of them come across, to me at least, as ultra forced or two-hand heavy. The injuries don't actually make it impossible to shoot. They're just something that are going to alter your performance slightly, meaning that getting shot is not something you really want to let happen, but when it does, there's a nice little effect. And when we talk about dynamic environments and reactive environments, I think this is a great opportunity to make the player feel a little bit more grounded in the world. Again, to do what we can to wipe away that shooting gallery vibe that Wildlands so often had. I really am excited for the concealment mechanics. Like the idea of hiding in mud and using it as a stealth mechanic. I'm not entirely sure how often that's going to come into play beyond maybe some set pieces in a campaign mission. But if they surprise me and it's something I can use almost like the good old days of Commandos where I had to dig a hole and hide under the dirt while an enemy guard passed overhead, then that's going to be freaking cool. And moving in with a suppressed weapon to gain access to a route as a part of my squad that I otherwise wouldn't be able to gain access to via something like that mechanic sounds absolutely wicked, so they better give us an opportunity to do just that. Now, this isn't necessarily something new, in fact, it's something old, but the fact that they're once again looking to tackle an open world. Open worlds in a game like Ghost Recon do bring with them a lot of freedom. Freedom that made Wildlands a very satisfying and very replayable experience, especially if you really got into it and cranked up the difficulty and ripped off the HUD and made it an entirely different game. I'm very excited for the return of an open world, but all of the things we just talked about have an opportunity to make that open world far more enjoyable than it was in Wildlands. All of the issues I talked about at the beginning of this video have the opportunity to be resolved or altered in some way to give us something that maybe feels a little bit more like those semi-linear sandbox experiences we got in GRAW 2, and even in Future Soldier to some extent, but now out in a full open world where we have those 25 different points of entry and all of that player choice that comes with the open world nature. Last, and this is something that I'm pleasantly surprised about and extremely hopeful for, because Wildlands didn't have a really good story or good voice acting or anything. It's not completely necessary, but it would be nice to see Ghost Recon join the likes of Sam Fisher and Splinter Cell when it comes to delivering characters that we actually kind of care about with a story that we also kind of actually care about. I'd say Scott Mitchell did a pretty good job over the years, but the first entry, for me at least, didn't do an outstanding job. And Breakpoint bringing John Bernthal into the fray as Cole D. Walker gives us a high-value target threat on the other side of the battlefield, who's also voiced by an incredible actor. And when you look at the raw gameplay footage that we got just a few weeks ago, it also appears that the main voice actor for our character and the new members of our Ghost Squad come across as just much more well voiced. And while I will miss Cock Holster and Shitballs to some extent, I'll also take characters that I can connect with a little bit better, even if Cock Holster and Shitballs is a totally realistic thing for someone in a Ghost Squad to say. I don't really know. I've never been or seen or talked to anyone. But nonetheless, ladies and gentlemen, those are my 5 reasons Breakpoint could be absolutely fantastic. 5 reasons I'm genuinely excited for the future of the franchise, and we don't even really know everything there is to know. There's a lot more on the table that hasn't been talked about yet, and there's also a lot of opportunities for things to change between now and the time the game releases this fall. Feel free to leave some of your thoughts down in the comments section below. Let me know why you're excited for Breakpoint, and also feel free to let me know why you're concerned. Maybe you're a little bit worried that Breakpoint won't be as fantastic as Wildlands, or that it can't expand on the experience Wildlands delivered and actually improve. Let me know all of your thoughts and anything else you might have to say to me down in the comment section below. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.
You have been brought here for a purpose, the most important task of your lives.